Let's talk about the 4 personalities that narcissistic people hate. If you are any one of the 4 personality types that I'm going to talk about in this message, rest assured that narcissistic people can't stand you. And it doesn't matter if it's your narcissistic family members. It doesn't matter if it is your spouse. It doesn't matter if it's your closest friends. It doesn't matter if it's the people that you work with. If you possess any or all of the 4 personalities, you will experience being demeaned, devalued, insulted, criticized, all the things that you're probably experiencing in the toxic relationship, and you're confused, wondering why, what did you do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. You're simply one of these 4 personalities. Let's get into this. My name is Kevin, and this is The Royal We. Now, before I do continue with this very important message about the 4 personalities that narcissistic people hate, I want to let you know that I'm here to support you. If you are dealing with toxic family members who are insulting you, criticizing you, demeaning you, devaluing you, every opportunity that they get, I want to help shed some light onto your situation so that you can see exactly what's taking place and why, so you can break the chains and free yourself and step into 2024 being the best version of you. In addition to one-on-one coaching, I do have a coaching program. Now, my coaching program is live and in person each and every day. The Royal We is community-centered, and we're operating out of a journal and a diary so that you can map out your 2024, so you can take the steps into becoming the person that you're called to be while breaking the chains and cutting yourself free of toxic family members, of a toxic marriage, of toxic friendships and relationships. And by the way, if you join the Royal We coaching program right now, I am going to give you for free my finger painting. That's what that is. That's my finger painting of the Royal We logo for 2024. I will give it to you so you can put it on your home screen like I have it on mine, because it's a great daily reminder of who you are, because you are the Royal We. Now, let's get into this topic of why narcissistic people hate you. Because you're one of these 4 personality types. We're going to talk about the personality types, the personalities, the character of which narcissistic people can't stand. Let's go, beginning with number 1. The first one is creative. Creatives, creative people. When I say creative people, I'm talking about you authors, you writers, you musicians, you painters, you dancers, you public speakers. Any which way that you create in this life, you're going to run into a pretty big issue with narcissistic people. The first thing that I want to help you to understand is that creativity is a gift, and it is not a gift that's been given to everybody. It's a gift that your higher power, it's a gift that God has graciously bestowed upon you. It's a gift that's to be used in a world where creativity is needed. But as the Bible says, to each has been given a measure of faith. Well, to each has been given a measure of all kinds of gifts. Creativity is just one of them. Narcissistically abusive people do not, for the most part, have a single creative bone in their body. Most overt narcissistically abusive people are very data structured. They're data oriented. They do not create. They cannot pull something out of thin air, unlike you, because you're a creative person. You can pull things out of thin air. You can write things into existence. You can make up melodies that have not yet been heard. You can speak in a way that has not been spoken. You can create from nothing. Narcissistically abusive people, especially overts, cannot. They operate in this world by mimicking, stealing, mirroring. They extract from what they deem to be reliable or authoritative sources, and this becomes their life. This becomes the box that they operate out of. This becomes the so-called painted lines of their lane. And then what they do, narcissistically abusive people, is they live their lives expecting everyone in their life to fit within this box and within this lane. So this is the number 1 reason as to why they do not like you being a creative person, is because you threaten their knowledge. You threaten what they have accepted and what they have created their little box out of from which to live. This is truth. This is the way life is. You threaten that as a creative person, because what is creativity? Creativity leads to invention. Invention leads to newness, new ideas, new ways of doing things, new thoughts, new experiences, new explorations. Narcissistic people, especially overts, that goes against their no, this is the way it's done. And every time a narcissistic and overt person has structured their box and their lane, somebody in there saying, well, what about this? And I'm going to try this, and here's something new. You will be demeaned, devalued, criticized, and insulted. Your ideas, your effort, your work is stupid. It's lame. They will insult you, criticize you. Why? Because it doesn't match up with their uncreative, extracted way of living. So your creativity is a threat to what they've accepted as truth. That's number one in the creative department. Number two, also in the creative department, is that it is very difficult to control a creative person. Creatives like you, creatives like me, think outside the box. We're very hard to get to accept this certain thing. We constantly live our lives like, but what if? What's out there? I want to try this. Let's try that. Narcissistic people can't handle this. Listen, I had teachers in elementary school. Kevin McKee, you're not paying attention. Supposed to sit there and listen and follow these specific guidelines and rules, but there was something out the window of the classroom. There was something that grabbed my attention, something that got my mind thinking, something that was stirring up creativeness inside of me. And it was insulting. My creativeness was insulting to the person that wanted to say, no, you sit and you listen to me. Right? Very hard to control creative people. Creative people think outside the box. You couldn't exist within a box even if you tried. And even if you did try, which many of you do, I have too, we try to fit into a box for a period of time, but eventually that box is going to explode with our creative energy. We can't. Because that's not how God designed you. God gave you creativeness to use. So one of two things is going to happen in a toxic relationship with a narcissistic person. If you are creative, either the box that they're trying to put you in is going to explode with your creativeness, they're going to hate you, all hell is going to break loose, or you're going to forfeit your creativity. The gift that God has given you, that has been bestowed graciously to you by your Creator, you're going to forfeit that and you will die. You'll wither away like a flower that's in the wrong field, that doesn't have the proper soil, that doesn't have the proper nutrition, that doesn't have the proper foundation. You will rot. So part of going no contact in your life needs to be based on this. You're not going no contact because they're so mean. Oftentimes going no contact from toxic family members, from a marriage even, part of going no contact is to protect the essence of who you are. It's to protect the gifts that God has graciously given to you. And being creative is a gift. So that's the first type of person narcissists will hate, especially overt narcissists who operate out of, this is the guidelines, this is how it's done, rah, 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 rah. You threaten that, okay? The next type of person that narcissists hate are independent people. Yes, those of you, myself included, who march to the beat of their own drum. Even right now, as I'm making this video, I can already see some of the comments. Why are you smoking a cigar, Kevin? Why are you doing that? Somebody who talks about God or anything shouldn't be smoking a cigar, blah, blah, blah. Why are you wearing fur on a coat? Why are you? And I've seen these comments from, people who want to be lame about this. Listen, my coat, my fur, it's an expression of my creativity, number one. And as for the cigar, well, let's get biblical. Because as far as I know, the Bible says it's not what goes into the mouth that defiles a person, but it's what comes out. Now, for those of you who receive my message and it's healing to your heart, you have the right perspective. You're seeing what's coming out of my heart. You're seeing the words that are coming out, the message that is coming from me. And you can probably care less about this. As God says, it's not it's not what goes in, it's what comes out that defiles a person. Think about this when you think about your narcissistic family members who cuss you out, call you names, insult you, criticize you. Really. Even those of you who want to criticize and insult me for having a cigar. Here I am delivering a message trying to heal. What's coming out of your mouth? Huh? So, I'll continue with my cigar now, and that's the end of my rant. But independent people bother narcissists because, like creative people, independent people will not want to submit to an authoritative way, a dictated way that they have to live. Narcissistic people cannot handle this. I'm going to share with you a movie that illustrates this perfectly. How many of you have seen Star Wars? How many of you are Star Wars fans? Brilliantly written. I wish I could sit down and talk to George Lucas, who created that, because he wrapped so much of life into that movie. What do you have in Star Wars? You have the dark side, right, of the Force, and you also have the Jedi, right? But what other names did they go by? Anybody want to, right? You have the dark side, and you have the dark side of the Force and the Jedi. But what else is it? It's also the Empire. The Empire. The dark side desires empire, control. This is how it's going to be. This is how we're going to set the rules. This is how we're going to live established. Now, what did the Empire give the name to the Jedi? What did the Empire call the Jedi? Anybody? Pop quiz. How did the Empire address the Jedi? When they referred to the Jedi, what name did they give them? Anybody? Put your comments down below. They were called the Rebels. The Rebel Alliance. The Empire, the extremism of what becomes dark, which is control. This is how things need to be done. This is how we're going to do it. And you can see how, and George Lucas portrayed this perfectly. If you think about it, yes, it was dark and it was nasty and it was mean, but look at how organized it was. All the stormtroopers and how they marched the same way, how they operated the same way. It's an image of Hitler and Nazi Germany. And how perfect they were in their order as an empire. And anybody who did not want to submit to this orderly way of living was called a rebel or a rebel alliance. That's the Jedi. This is the story of Star Wars. It's the story of life. It's the story of your toxic family, where you have some narcissistic people establishing themselves as an empire. This is how it is. You have the Hitlers of this world establishing the empires. This is how we're going to be. And if you don't fall into this line, you're a rebel. Independent people, people who look at that and say, I don't want any part of that. I'm not going to march the way you want me to march. I'm not going to submit to what you want me to do. I am going to live freely, independently. Well, you're a rebel. Narcissistically abusive people look at you as a rebel. As I said before, some people will have a problem that I'm smoking a cigar. Some people watching this might have a problem that I'm wearing a fur coat, that I'm expressing myself in this fashion while I'm talking about this very deep conversation. And they're going to say, wait a minute, you don't have a button-down suit and tie like psychologists and counselors. What right do you have to even speak on such a topic if you're not going to dress with a tie on? Empire, which can lead into more darkness, anger, aggression, and become abusive. You see, the empire is not about humanity. It's not even about love. What is it about? Control and dominance. But what's interesting is they'll speak about their love. They'll speak about how wonderful things can be with this organized way. But meanwhile, in their hearts, it's hatred towards anybody who doesn't fall into line. So yes, your narcissistic family members, even your husband, even your wife, even your coworkers, if you are independent in your nature, they will hate this because you are not falling in line. So independent people are the second types of personalities. And by the way, God has put independent people here for a reason. Just like in Star Wars, that's what balance is. There will always be the dark side. There will always be the empire-driven people. And there will always be the independent people. And they will always clash. There will always be war between them. The independent people will never submit. I don't care who's out there telling me, oh, I shouldn't talk about this. I will talk about this, and I will dress the way in which I want to dress, independent of that thought and of what they want. I'm not here for what they want. I'm here for those who want to hear what's coming out of my heart. Right? Independent people are the second. The third people that narcissistic people hate are empaths. People of empathy. Much like creativity, narcissistic people have no empathy. They struggle to really empathize with others. And what's really interesting is that somebody who was very abusive to me in my past, verbally, insults, criticisms, demeaning, devaluing nature, they went to school to become a psychologist. Trip out on that. And for a minute, I was thinking, how can they go into psychology? There's not an ounce of empathy in somebody who can attack another human being verbally, mentally, and emotionally, but then say they have a desire? No. See, it's possible for psychologists, even counselors, to exist with zero empathy, because all they're doing is going to school so they can regurgitate their books and deal with people just from that place. So when people go to a psychologist, and I'm not saying all of them, I'm not here attacking psychology. It's done great things. I'm not attacking counselors. But I am just going to state this. I coach a lot of people who have spent years seeking psychological help. And they're coming to me. Why? Same thing with counselors out there. Because psychology and counseling is not about empathy, and I had to open my eyes to that. They're not doing it to operate out of empathy. They're doing it to, well, like number one, it's not out of creativity, it's not out of empathy, it's reading the books, and it's trying to connect the dots, this situation to what I've read in a book. Whereas true empathy comes down to you connecting with another person and their unique experience. Now, what this entails is vulnerability. And this is why narcissistic people hate empaths. Because narcissistic people have to avoid vulnerability at all costs. They cannot get to the bottom of that monster within them. And so out of empathy, how empathy operates is this. Tell me what's going on. I'm interested in you. I'm caring for you. I want to know what's hurting you. I want to know. Let's pull this thing out of you, this hurt, this pain. Let's look at it. Let's break it down together. And what you're going to notice with narcissistic people is the moment you say, what's bothering you? What's going on? out of a genuine care and a genuine concern, it's going to start to shake this vulnerability within them. And they're going to lash out towards you. I experienced this firsthand. As a matter of fact, a lot of the abuse I experienced in this life, I've seen it, came down to me reaching out of a genuine place of concern, reaching out to somebody saying, hey, I see how you're talking to me. Something's not right. Let's talk about this. What's wrong? Whew. How many of you have tried asking a narcissistic person what's wrong? They could be cussing you out, calling you names, raging at you. Your number one desire is what's wrong? Because your empathy has you in this place of, let's tackle this. It's painful. It's not healthy. What's wrong? They take it as, how dare you try to get me to become vulnerable? There's nothing wrong. They'll deny it. There's nothing wrong. You're what's wrong. How dare you sit there and ask me what's wrong? You're this, you're that, criticize, insult, cut down, destroy you. They hate empathy. They don't have it. They don't operate by it. So neither do they have creativity, neither do they like independence, neither do they like empathy, because they don't have it. The fourth and final personality type that I'm going to talk about that narcissists hate is assertiveness. Assertive people. To a narcissistic person, they cuss, rage, scream, shout at people. That's fine. For them. They look at that as just normal. That's normalcy. But when it comes to genuine assertiveness, and I'm not talking about assertiveness as in cussing them out, calling them names and blah, 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 being like Darth Vader and the Empire, not narcissistic assertiveness. I mean genuine assertiveness. Simply saying, no, I don't want to do that. No, thank you. Letting your yes be yes and your no be no, as it says in the Bible to do. Narcissists hate that. They hate assertiveness. They hate your ability to say no. Why? Because it reminds them of your what? Your independence. You're a rebel. How dare you assert yourself and say no? You rebel. I'm going to destroy you. They hate assertiveness. Assertiveness, by the way, is natural. It's a normal function of this life. Your assertiveness is needed in order to protect you and your giftings. Your assertiveness will protect your creativity. Your assertiveness will protect your independence. Your assertiveness in life will protect your empathy. That's what it's for. That's why you have the ability to say, no, I am not going to do that. No, I'm not going to this party. No, I'm not going to talk with you for an hour on the phone. I remember I used assertiveness and I experienced some wild narcissistic rage. I'll give you the context of the story. I was getting ready to... It's coming. I was getting ready to take some siblings to some amusement park, and they were trying to get me to drive a car that wasn't mine. They had this van. They wanted me to drive it. I said, no, we'll squeeze into my car. All right? And they went on and on and on. Oh, but why? Why don't you just drive this car? Drive this van, blah, blah, blah. It's not mine. I'm not insured on it. I'm going to drive. So what? Just drive the van. It's bigger. Blah, blah, blah. I finally said, no, I'm not going to argue. One of them went into a rage. Don't talk to us like that. Someone... They hate assertiveness. Somebody who is decisive, who wants to protect themselves, and also look out for the benefit of the majority. They hate that. So there you have it. 4 personality types. If you're any one of these 4 or a combination of all of them, narcissistic people are going to hate you. But you can't worry about that. Accept it. And as you accept it, understand what no contact is for. It's to protect how God has designed you. It's to protect your purpose and your path in this life. Being a creative person, being an independent person, being an empathic person, being an assertive person. No contact is about protecting who you are. As I said before, I'm here to support you. Down in the description box below this video, you'll find access for one-on-one appointments. So if anything in this video resonates with you, but you want to go deeper, schedule some one-on-one time with me. Also, consider joining the Royal We Coaching Program. And I will be back with more right here on the Royal We. If you are brand new to the Royal We, be sure to hit the like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any videos. I do my best to upload each and every day. And until I'm back with another video, I encourage you to watch one of these videos recommended by the YouTube algorithm. It knows what you've been watching, and so I think it's going to set you on the right path. Check these videos out, and I'll be back with more right here on the Royal We. Bye.